Hey, everybody. Welcome to the second edition of the Post Political Podcast. My name's Derek Britton, and I've got a great show for you today. We are going to be talking with Billy Ukwu Jr. of the End the Two-Party System movement. First off, I want to bring in the Burnin' Vermin Festival. So tomorrow night and into Saturday, Vermin Supreme is hosting a festival with music, comedy, panel talking about mutual aid, and a couple of really cool special guests that you don't want to miss. Definitely check it out. I will put the link in the comments for you to go and check out the event. But yeah, check out Burnin' Vermin this weekend. It's going to be a blast, and I'm going to be there and check out a bunch of stuff and watch as well. I'm pretty excited about it. But tonight we got, like I said, Billy Ukwu Jr. of the End the Two-Party System movement. Let's bring him in. Hey, how you doing, Billy?
How you doing today?
Good. Yeah, so I figured I'd start out. We can talk a little bit about kind of your political journey and how you got here. People don't typically end up right off the bat in the third party world, and they kind of make their journey here in different ways. And I'd love to hear kind of how you ended up here.
Well, I guess it really starts off in 2016 after the Bernie Sanders debacle thing. So originally, my whole life I've been a Democrat.
Yep.
I voted for Bernie, or I supported Bernie in 2016 originally. When all that happened with Hillary, I was really frustrated. So I actually ended up making a YouTube channel called Left Side Network. From there, I actually met up with a guy named Jeff for Justice. He also had a YouTube channel. I don't know if you've heard of him before.
Yep.
From there, we formed a group of other YouTubers called No More Two-Party System. While I was in that group, I gained a lot of mentorship from Jeff, and also I learned a lot about the ins and outs of politics, nonprofit organizations, movements in general.
Yep.
So I guess that inspired me making End the Two-Party System.
That's
where
great.
we are today.
No, that's great. Yeah, and it's definitely sounds similar. I mean, I was probably just one election earlier, I guess. I voted for Obama. I was a Democrat as well. Voted for Obama. And really felt hurt with the immigration platform that he ran, where he deported more people than anyone in the history of the presidency, and also the war stances that he had. He really brought us into and continue to perpetuate the endless wars that we've been going on since 9/11, and really since the country's been founded, to be honest. So yeah, it sounds very similar story, I think. And I did partially. I had one foot in the Bernie movement and one foot in the libertarian movement at the time. The Bernie thing was kind of the final straw. I mean, Obama really was that final straw for me, but I did like some of the original authenticity and some of the stuff that Bernie was saying. Some of it panned out and some of it didn't. Some of it ended up being just kind of more political pandering, I guess. But I'm interested to see what the future of kind of that party is going to look like, where the insurgents of folks like, the Squad, the AOCs of the world, and all those folks as well. So,
yeah, definitely. And also, I didn't mention too in my story, I ended up becoming green. So I voted for Jill Stein that election. Then I voted for Howie Hawkins this election. Just to add.
Oh, okay, yep. Yeah, and I think I voted in the last couple of elections for the Libertarian Party, and I have a lot of friends in the Green Party as well. And I think there is a lot that can be done kind of together. I think one of the big things that are missed is we tend to fight for those 1, 2, 5, 6% at the bottom, and at the end of the day, in the presidential election, that's there to help show people that they exist, that the Green Party, the Libertarian Party, those parties exist and can do something and are a voice of change and can help push the duopoly in a direction that we'd like to see them. But I think at the end of the day, some of the lower local level and state level candidates, I really think I would love to see a future where the Green Party and the Libertarian Party and the Constitution Party, the Progressive Party, the Democratic Socialists of America, they got together and backed one candidate or one ballot initiative that in a state or something that everyone could get. Criminal justice reform is something that all of those parties typically agree for the most part on. And it would be wonderful to see, people joining in arms and kind of coming together to, end the failed drug war or end civil asset forfeiture or qualified immunity or whatever you want to go after. I just think there's a ton there, and I'd like to hear what you think about some of those kind of joint systems.
And so, yeah, pretty much. I mean, that's kind of what we're doing anyway. I think it would be better if all these parties were able to support, like you said, maybe a single initiative, like campaign finance reform, electoral reform, and ending the war on drugs, etc. These are things that I think we should try to, I guess, make other third parties aware that we should like work together for.
Yeah.
So more or less, that's my opinion on that one.
Yeah, and what do you think about like running a candidate? I know that's the ballot initiative. I think would probably be the easier kind of first step into some of those joint discussions. But if there was, let's say, sheriff, for instance, the Vermin Supreme Institute, there's a political arm we run called Disrupt the Vote. And we backed a Green Party candidate for sheriff. I mean, it's nonpartisan anyways, the VSI movement, but a lot of folks that were libertarians worked on this campaign and were really excited to help Freya Odin's daughter. She ran a very exciting write-in campaign and probably had one of the biggest write-in turnouts ever in Denton County, Texas. And sheriff is something that it doesn't have a ton of fiscal policy tied to it, so there's not a lot of places to disagree with. And I think things like that could be fun, to do joint ventures, I guess, with.
And actually, that's a really good idea. And if we saw something like that, we would definitely support it 100%.
That's great. So you alluded to a couple of times the end of the two-party system movement. When I introduced you, I talked a little bit about that as well. Let's dive into that a little bit. I'd love to hear, your thoughts on where you're at today, and then kind of where you want to bring this to in the future, and kind of different initiatives that you guys want to take on.
Okay, so right now we've been growing the group, trying to fundraise so we can actually get it established as a 501c4 nonprofit organization. So we're at about 3,000 people so far. Our plans after we turn it into a nonprofit organization really more or less is to focus on education, partnering with YouTubers, because I really believe the power of media is mainly going to be on social media. Yep. So I think that if we want to get younger people, we're going to have to get things that they're interested in and, obviously incorporate it to what we're talking about. So like getting YouTubers, getting celebrities, making videos, memes, whatever the case may be, just to dominate the airwaves pretty much. And then secondly, obviously, we're trying to work on lobbying politicians so that we can, like we said, get initiatives that we all support put on the ballot and pass.
Yeah, that's great. No, and I think there's a lot to be done, especially education wise, to kind of get the word out about different third parties and what they represent, and kind of the some of the politicians, I guess, that are running local elections. I feel like a lot of people, they pay attention, especially every 4 years during the presidential elections, when it's, a really big, kind of crazy, exciting election to go to. But the midterms and also any of the down ballot candidates, even during some of those elections, really don't get as much of a mention. And I feel like that's where a lot of the wins can come from. That's where, at least in the Libertarian Party, where I've seen we have 200 and something folks in local offices all around the country. That's a lot more of the success that we typically see than at that big national scale. And I think there's a lot of work to be done to get there. And I think we've talked about a little bit of it, kind of joining forces with some of the other parties and stuff. But just trying to get those names out there. And I think it would be a really good first step in trying to bring in those new voters from the different parties.
And definitely what we're focusing on mainly right now is actually 2022 and like state and local elections. So we're really just trying to like pretty much blow up the news feeds with stuff like this, so that for one, people can see the movement. Once people see the movement, everything else will fall in place. We're planning on opening state and local branches, so we're going to be definitely promoting local and state candidates, and not just, like I said, Green, Constitution Party, Libertarian Party, whoever's running at the time. So absolutely, we can't win without winning state and local elections.
Yeah, absolutely, and pushing the message in a kind of an anti-authoritarian perspective, I think, helps as well. Like,
exactly.
And that's, like I said, I think that's something that a lot of the third parties really can join in on. And I think we're given a unique opportunity right now where we've seen a few candidates or the past president, let's say, very heavily authoritarian. I mean, I think it's been going on for much longer than that, for sure. But we've seen it at least covered now by the national media that these authoritarian policies are infringing on people's rights, all over the place. And I think it gives us an opportunity to be that voice of the people, I guess, and the voice of individuals instead of kind of these large government institutions that are kind of really pushing people's civil rights further and further down, I guess, the priority ladder. So.
Yeah, definitely. And that's why people are listening, because obviously everybody agrees with that. Nobody wants an authoritarian government. I mean,
yeah, no, absolutely. It's true. It's true. And so I have a couple of some other questions, I guess, that I think would be a good way to learn a little bit more about some of the future programs, I guess, you want to be doing, and kind of your thoughts on just in general working within the political system and then kind of outside of the political system. One of the things that we try and focus on in a few of the projects I'm working with is mutual aid programs, and really trying to do things on a person-to-person or inside of a community system. Do you guys think about sponsoring anything like that, or is it more focused, I guess, on the political aspect of it?
It's mainly focused on the political aspect of it, but we will be supporting things like that, of course, especially when we open our state and local branches. Oh yeah, anything that's in the area that's going on that helps the people, we'll definitely be supporting it. Personally, me myself, I do support a lot of these organizations. I just helped one in the local DMV area called Helping Hands like a few minutes ago.
Yep.
So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, tell me more a little bit about the Helping Hands organization. That sounds pretty neat.
So Helping Hands basically is an organization here in the DMV. I believe it's based in Maryland, and they're pretty much trying to gather as much money as they can for Christmas so they can get toys for kids that are less fortunate in the area, kids that won't be able to have proper Christmas.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, so we're going to be working to distribute these toys across these 3 states.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I think and it's such a good time to kind of have. I think people are more generally in kind of that giving mood and willing to offer more during this time. So I think it's always a great opportunity to try and bring people into those types of organizations and kind of keep people interested throughout. And I think that's talking, I guess, more on not the negative aspects, but some of the challenges that we face, especially in the third party systems that we kind of operate in, is retention. I see a lot of people, like I said, super excited during the 4-year presidential stints, and then they're gone. You don't typically see them very often afterwards. And even in mutual aid programs and stuff, you'll see one big project kind of kick everyone off. There'll be hundreds of people, looking to volunteer and donate their time and effort, and sometimes dollars. And then after that major effort is gone, or the holiday season or whatever, it just kind of goes
drops off. Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you think about like trying to, how do we retain some of these folks after the presidential election cycle, and what do we do to kind of keep their interest, keep them excited, and kind of give them more programs to work with?
My opinion, the media. The media is going to do it, because that's what everybody does all the time. Everybody's on their phone all the time. I think we need to stop making politics so boring, and that's the reason why many young people are not interested. So like I said, partnering with YouTubers, just even making funny videos.
Yep.
It brings attention to what's going on. And that's what I think, media.
Yeah, no, it's a perfect kind of or segue or whatever into the vermin. So I don't know if you've done a ton of if you've looked into or seen a ton of the Vermin Supreme stuff that he does. He's a satirical kind of activist and political candidate. He runs for president every 4 years, and this last time he ran a legitimate race for the Libertarian nomination. And he brings in a ton of comedy and kind of shows a fun contrast to the suit and tie politics that we see every day.
Exactly. And I think he actually, I'm sorry to cut you off.
Oh, no, I just want to get your take on it. So yeah,
he actually does a perfect job at it. You see how everybody, even people that aren't even into politics, they know who Vermin Supreme is. So that he's doing his job perfectly. Exactly. And no, actually, I've been following Vermin Supreme for a long time, obviously. think everybody knows about it. But the institute, I haven't done too much research about the institute that you're involved with.
Yeah, that just kicked off this last year. There's three main arms. There's the political arm that does help. It's called Disrupt the Vote. So they run basically disruptive candidates in very winnable races, exciting races, or races that they can change the narrative. So if there's really someone horrible, running in the duopoly, and there's a candidate that is going to really make waves and change the rhetoric that kind of keeps going on year after year. We try and help support them in any way that we can. We have an education, we talked earlier about education and how that's so important. We have a large education group headed by Ashley Shade, and basically trying to teach so forgotten history and things that you never learned in high school or junior high or whatever that did happen. They just kind of glossed over it because it wasn't the pretty history that they wanted to teach about America.
60% of history.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And just highlighting things like they're doing a big women in politics piece right now. There's a ton of stuff kind of slated to come out in the next year. And then the last one is public works. So it's, working with existing mutual aid programs and then creating some mutual aid programs kind of within the Institute. And having different initiatives basically that we can sponsor with our, Vermin Supreme has such a big reach with a social media presence and all that we can really help highlight these wonderful programs that are happening. There's one right now called Dulap's Homeless Backpacks. So in Texas, Dallas-Fort Worth area, they basically build these backpacks with all different kind of supplies in it, from sanitary supplies to food to some blankets and things like that, put in a backpack, and they distribute them through the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And yeah, we're just basically trying to help provide them with resources and a little bit of promotion and actual physical people. I'm the volunteer coordinator for it, so I try and funnel people basically into those programs as best as possible.
That sounds awesome. You got to send me the link for that later on.
Definitely. Yeah. We'll talk a lot more about it. It's been a great organization to start up. The politics piece did take some time, when we originally launched, because it was during that election cycle. But now we are able to focus a lot more on some of the mutual aid programs and stuff that we're trying to promote and grow, and trying to, I guess, branch out into different areas in the United States. So.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Sounds amazing.
On that note, I guess too, and kind of back, I guess, to some of the mutual aid stuff. What do you think about too, like how much? I always talk about this with a bunch of friends of mine. How much can be done inside of electoral politics, even with winning candidates and winning races locally at that state and local level, versus how much can we do outside of the political system, and what kind of an impact do you think we can make on people's lives, I guess, in both realms?
Well, in terms of third parties, inside the electoral system is a little difficult, obviously, because the rules set in place. Outside of it, I think really just making sure that people are aware, obviously, of what's going on. Not just that there's other third parties, but the barriers against them. That's what most people don't know. They think that there's other third parties and they just can't win. It's not the case. Really, I think that's just the biggest issue, just making sure people know.
Yeah.
I don't really see anything else that can be done. Donating and supporting certain organizations, nonprofits that are going to make changes, like mine and the Vermin Supreme Institute. That's all.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think there's it's tough to have those big calls to action. And I mean, especially right now, I feel like COVID has thrown in a whole nother monkey wrench into, especially the mutual aid programs where you need volunteers physically at a location to help with some of the homeless camps, or anything that you physically need someone there at an event. It's really thrown a big monkey wrench in this year. So
massive monkey wrench.
What's that? Say it again.
That's a massive monkey wrench. Monkey wrench.
And it's, you try and get people, like you said, I think social media plays a huge aspect into that, trying to bring people in that way. That's something they can do from home. That's something that they can talk about, I guess, and educate people beyond their little bubbles. But I do worry that we run into those, echo chambers, as they say, and we're talking to the same people who are already excited about third parties.
Right.
What's kind of, give me some ideas, I guess you have, or some ways that you think we can pull from the existing major parties. How do we peel people off from those, Democrats and Republicans, and kind of funnel them into, learning about these third party? How do we get them there, basically?
I think we need to, for one, make sure that people can see the records of the people that they're voting for and that they don't forget about them, because it seems like every few years people forget about what their candidates have done. Number two, I think that we should just, I'm not exactly sure how to put this.
Yeah, no worries.
I think, yeah, it's just mainly an education thing there.
Yeah, and it's difficult. I mean, it's trying to get people away from, and they've, I think if nothing else, the two major parties have done such a significantly good job at marketing, and negative marketing, especially. So they've built up this entire system, red versus blue, my team versus your team. And there's they silence voices just in that fear mongering, I guess, of, if you don't pick my person, then their person is going to win. And their person wants all these horrible things that are typically never true about that candidate, or far, reaches for one particular policy point or whatever.
And something I wanted to add on top of that too, as well,
Yeah.
is also creating contrast so that people can see the difference between other countries and other systems and the way that they handle them too, as well. Because I feel like Americans have, for one, they don't know enough about other countries and the way that they do things. Number two, they have a fear of what other countries do. They think it's just communism automatically, or it's not the case.
Right.
I think that would help a lot as well.
Yeah.
People can see what other countries had.
Yeah, and I'd love that as well. Like I try and keep myself as educated as possible, but doing a lot of work on campaigns and in the American system, I'm definitely way more well versed in that system, and I don't get as much time, I guess, to research and do all of the digging about other systems that are established in other countries. I learn, when someone throws out an anecdotal example about how this could run in this country, healthcare in Singapore, or even South Korea, or the economy in some of the Norwegian countries, and it's just, or in Norway, or some of the Nordic countries. I think there's a lot to be learned, that and I feel myself being in the interested in politics and trying to understand as much as I can. I don't feel like I know enough about other electoral systems or economic systems or anything else that are really done in a lot of the other countries in the world.
Yeah, it's a lot to take in, and they don't really teach us a lot about that in American school systems. So
right.
I feel like if the American school system started teaching more about politics, the different forms of government, more in depth, I feel like that would make a massive difference, especially with the newer generations coming.
Yeah, and that might be an interesting idea. I mean, I don't know if you've built out the full initiative set or whatever for the two-party system movement and eventual nonprofit, but I think that would be a huge resource. My wife is actually a public school teacher, and one of the things that teachers could, I think, utilize very well is kind of a guide or a example lesson plan of how to do something for, take the EU and take a handful of countries, or take, some other massive political system, and expound upon that a little bit, so that we can kind of hand them the resources and make them readily available for them to teach.
And that's crazy that you even said that, because I didn't know teachers didn't have that already. So
there's some, there's definitely some of it. There's a lot of, paid resources available. And especially now with a lot of people moving to the remote teaching and stuff, there's a lot more resources that have been put out there. But for the most part, teachers are really pushed to do a lot of their own research and a lot of their own digging on a lot of those subjects. And I think, there's only so much that they can do. They have time for, they are equipped to do. And I think having some of these resource packs of, when you do even just the simplest thing of when you do a mock election for your classroom in your civics or history classes or whatever, don't just do the Democrats and Republicans. There's other parties. Here's some of the other parties. Here's some literature about the other parties, and just try to make that kind of a widespread resource for a lot of different teachers. I think that would be a huge, great thing that the two-party system group could do.
And you know what? Yeah, I guess I really didn't pitch on everything that we're planning to do. So when we open our state and local branches, we will be having on-ground volunteers that will be going from community to community, probably bringing pamphlets, I'm assuming, that have information about all the parties, barriers, etc., state laws, in that state. So we're definitely planning on doing that. No doubt.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
And also, to pitch on another thing, we do have a list of our initiatives on our website, www.endthetwopartysystem.org. Mainly, we're supporting ranked choice voting, campaign finance reform, electoral reform, things of that nature.
Yeah, I was bummed. We had ranked choice voting come up in this. It was a ballot initiative in this last election in the state of Massachusetts, and I voted for it, supported it, tried to help volunteer a little bit and do what I could for it, but it ended up losing in Massachusetts, and that was a big loss. I felt that one pretty directly. And it was, really state and local elections. It wasn't going to be national elections. And it was really a first step to help people learn and understand. But I think, as we've touched on numerous times, the education piece is the big piece that's missing. I don't think enough people were educated about what it looks like, what a ballot would look like, how it would happen. What are some of the ways that it could. I think there was a lot of misinformation about the ways that it could help or hurt the candidates that they wanted to win, kind of thing.
Oh, definitely. And I think even at this point, majority of Americans don't even know about ranked choice voting,
right,
in the first place, let alone third parties. So,
yeah, and I think too, we talked earlier about what we can do to work together and kind of bridge those gaps between the different third parties. And I think ranked choice voting is a great first step in doing some of that. I mean, that it really does, I think, at least, and I've seen some controversial or not controversial, some negative feelings about it and some data that's loosely tied to it, but I haven't seen enough to really sway my opinion. But I believe it's nothing but a win for small third-party candidates. I think, especially in local elections, it gives us a bigger platform, a bigger voice, in the ability for someone to be able to write that name or check that box without worrying about, the other person's going to win that I don't want to win or whatever. So.
No, definitely. It makes a huge difference. It's better than where we are. That's exactly. For sure. So, I mean, obviously there's better systems. I've heard of like star voting and approval voting, which are better. But I mean, if we can make any moves, it's better than nothing.
Yeah, and I think even just changing I think people think in their minds that we've had this system forever. There's never been a change in the voting system or the election system. And there has been significant changes throughout the entirety of the history of America. And I think even highlighting some of those and showing, hey, this is an evolution. This is not a one and the Constitution wasn't written and then that's it. There was no more laws or anything changed. Or, I mean, we'd probably be better off if there was not a ton of extra stuff added to it. But at the end of the day, we ended up in a place where we've changed and evolved the country significantly since then, and we need to continue to evolve. We can't be stuck in this is the way it's always been and we're never going to change. We need to make sure that people are getting a bigger voice than corporations, for instance, or the dollars that are funneled into some of these major campaigns aren't basically buying the votes at the end of the day.
Yeah, exactly.
And on that, I mean, do you have any idea? The last thing I kind of want to really hit on, and this is something that I don't have a great answer, so if you don't feel bad, but I want to ask this of anyone that comes on, because I think this is a major hurdle. And I think campaign finance reform could get us somewhere there. But at the end of the day, Democrats and Republicans raise 10, 100, sometimes 1,000 times what our local candidates can raise. Especially on the national level. That's just insane what the national candidates run. But even at the state and local levels, we're seeing, tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars being funneled into these campaigns where third-party voters third-party candidates are typically bringing in single-digit thousands, maybe $10,000-$20,000, which is still a lot of money and a good way to get there. But how do we bring in donors? I mean, that's kind of the nitty-gritty, background stuff that people don't think a lot about, but it's so necessary when it comes to winning these really local and state elections.
In my opinion, I think the easiest way is to get businesses on board, get small local businesses on board, let them know that by opening up the system, it would help them a lot more. It would allow less corporate power, which allow their businesses to grow. I think we should probably have, like, in our organization, when we get everything established, we're obviously going to meet up with a lot of these people, probably have a massive meeting, explain how they're going to make money from it. And, money drives everything. So essentially that's what's going to get people to agree, is by letting them know that more money will be in their pockets this way. And it won't just be for the businesses, it'll be for the citizens too as well, because they'll spend more at these local businesses. So in my opinion, that's the best way.
No, I absolutely agree. And trying to keep some of that money locally in their community, I think, is such a big piece that people miss on, trying to drive. And I think we probably differ slightly on some of the economic policy pieces, but not entirely, I don't think. And, but I think driving a lot of those dollars spent within their local communities is going to do nothing more than just grow the amount of jobs that are offered in that community, the how nice the neighborhoods get, how, like, all of that will be driven out of trying to drive more businesses out of the big box stores, the Amazons.coms, all these major, massive corporations, and into these small businesses. And we need to give them an opportunity to succeed. Right now, they're having a really hard time succeeding. And we're seeing at least locally here in Massachusetts, I'm seeing a lot of local businesses have to close their doors due to COVID and stuff. And it's sad. And I don't know how we recover, but I really want to be there to make sure we're driving policy, we're driving promotion and education to help those small businesses. So I love that you brought that up. That's a great point.
Yeah, I've actually been thinking about it for a while. Obviously, in the type of business that we're going to be into, it's very important to understand that. Yeah.
So we're right up against the 30-minute mark. I want to know if you have anything else that you want to talk about with the program in nonprofit that you're running. You can drive people to your website. We can put the link in the comments after we're done. And if there's anything else, let's hear what you have to say.
Well, basically, just come check us out. Check out our website, www.endthetwopartysystem.org. Check out our initiatives. We plan to do a lot more, so just stay tuned to our Facebook group too as well if you haven't already. On it's End the Two Party System at Facebook. Also, I plan, and maybe in 2022, maybe to run for a city council or a position here in Fairfax County, Virginia. So pay attention to that too as well.
That's awesome. No, that's great. And I really appreciate having you on. We've talked, before this as well, a lot online, and I appreciate all the help and support that you've given me in the podcast, that I'm starting here. And I hope to do a ton more in the future with you, Billy. I think this is really great what you're doing. And I really respect and want to help promote and share and educate with you. I'd love to build that bridge with you. So
thank you. It was great being on here, and I hope we can definitely do that.
Awesome. All right. Well, I will see you soon. We'll talk soon, I'm sure. And I will drop that link in the comments after we're done. And I hope you have a great night.
All right. You too, boss.
Thanks. So that's what we have for you for the second episode of the Post Political Podcast. Again, I am Derek Britton, and that was Billy Ukwu Jr. of the End the Two Party System nonprofit. And I hope everyone had a great night and enjoyed what we had to talk about. If you have any comments or questions, please drop them in the comments. Billy or I will go in and help respond to a lot of the stuff that's there. So if you have anything that we didn't cover or something that we did cover that you'd like to learn more about, please ask there, and we will go back and mention it before mentioning you again and kind of respond to what you have. If you are looking for the podcast, we are now on Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. We are all over the place. YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You can find us everywhere, mostly at Post Political Podcast. You can see the links down in the bottom corner here. I am Derek Britton. I appreciate everyone being here tonight, and I will talk to you next week.